Yeah, I'm just gonna, she's on the mic with me in the same room. So I'm just gonna give her a couple of like hand. Okay, so she's got to be real close when it's her turn. Okay, we can do that. All right. We will bring the microphone really close. Welcome to Layers of Communication on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, BBM Global Network, and Facebook Live under Layers of Communication. Today we are going to be talking about moving through fear. My name is Lydia Taggart. I'm your host, and this is Layers of Communication. If you'd like to call in, the number is 1-866-451-1451. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, go ahead, drop your comments in there. We're doing lives now as well so that we can keep up to date on any comments that you have, any questions. You don't have to wait your turn. You can just put them in there and we'll look at them all during the commercial breaks and answer whatever comments we have on there. So today, I'm thinking about moving through fear and all the different layers that we add on to us as a protection because of those fears that we have that create a barrier for our relationships, that we need to get through these fears so that we can connect with the people that we love and care for. And sometimes it's scary to even think about going through the fear, and it increases the fear, right? And so what can we do about it? Well, I've got a story for you about a personal fear that I've had, or there's so many fears. But recently, my son, who is 16, and he has Asperger's, so he's kind of got that social anxiety. He's been my inspiration for researching how to communicate and creating our programs on connecting. And he's 16, so he was invited to go on an orchestra tour to California with his school. And so amazing. Music is powerful too, so we can use that as, we'll talk about that more later, as part of a tool to move through fear. But he was going away. I didn't know really any of his friends. I know 4 or 5 of the people's names, but I haven't been hanging out with their families. I don't know who they are, right? And this has been just such a great adventure for him to break out and go anyway. And for me to allow him to go and say, yes, you're growing up and you're going to be your own person and life is great. Oh, that was kind of scary. And I was afraid that he would get lost, because sometimes people get lost. And well, he actually did get lost. But I didn't know about it until after he got home. And so that was, kind of a little blessing. When you don't know that there's a problem until after the problem has been resolved, you don't really have anything to be afraid of. And so that's a blessing. Sometimes they say ignorance is bliss, but we don't really want to be ignorant. We want to be fully involved. And one of those ways to have that peace is, and to be involved, is to pray and to really be connected with our higher power, whatever that higher power is that you choose. If we are able to connect with our higher power, we can get those feelings of comfort and peace, even when there's something wrong, like my son was lost. But I felt at peace that he was going to be okay, and he was okay. He ended up being okay. He's 16, so he wasn't going to be like kidnapped or anything. He's kind of big for that. 6'4" is kind of tall to pack into a little bag and carry off. But I was still worried about him because, it's his first time away from home. And that was one of the things that I was able to do personally, and also this visualizing, to just envision him having fun and put it in my mind that he was going to be all right. Now for him, being able to break through that fear of, I'm going to be out there by myself. And maybe he didn't even think about it. Maybe he just thought everybody else is doing it, so it's going to be okay. And one of the things we can do for our mindset is to think, everybody else is doing it. It's going to be okay. I'm not the only one. We're very rarely the only one who has ever done something. Like, never happens. Even when we had quads, and I was having some fear about having quadruplets, but just setting my mind to it that it's going to be okay. First of all, this wasn't my plan. Somebody else has a plan bigger than mine, and we can deal with it because it's been given to us. That's been a really huge benefit for us and our family. Just like, it's not our plan. It really isn't our plan. We can hope for things and want things and work for things, but we're not really in charge. Really, there's a higher power that would benefit us more. But now, I will admit, I asked for more than one kid at the time because I said, I don't want to be pregnant. I don't like this very much. Maybe it could be more than one, twins or something. Who knows why I said or something, but we did. So we got all of them at once because I didn't want to be pregnant more than that one time. I had 2 other kids already, of course, but anyway, we have these games in our mind. Fear is the same way. If we're afraid of something, it's all because of the way we're looking at it, the way we feel about it, the way we are interpreting that emotion. Fear and excitement have the same physiological components. The faster heart rate, the way we breathe is the same if we're afraid and if we're excited. So we can just change the definition in our mind and choose that we're going to be excited and not afraid. And so then I became excited to be having our quadruplets, excited to be letting my son grow up and become his own person and go out of town and get lost but not be in trouble. Excited for life. And if we get stuck in those emotions, we need to move through those. We've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it many more times, that our emotions are what define us. It's what's at the very core of who we are, how we feel about things. Feelings are not to be feared. And I think sometimes we get afraid that it's an unknown feeling. We get afraid that we don't know how to deal with it because it's new. And then it kind of spirals in this cycle of, I'm afraid because I don't know. And then that feeling grows because we're dwelling on it. And if we could switch that and just say, okay, I'm going to choose to be excited instead of afraid. Excited for an adventure. Excited for what could be. We think, what if? What if my son got lost? What if he didn't? What if he did get lost and he still had fun anyway? Because that's what happened. He still had fun, and he still, this being lost actually created a great opportunity for him. And there was a girl there. It's actually the girl that he's asked to prom. And she sent him messages on his phone. Where are you? I'm really worried about you. And so now he's got this friendship building and growing. Well, we didn't know all the ins and outs about the phone. So there's always something that we don't know about, right? And we don't know that we don't know it until it's already too late. So what happened was he's never had a phone of his own before. We got him a phone the day before he left. He didn't have time to learn how to play on it and which buttons do what. And I forgot to tell him that we have unlimited data. And so he turned the data off, thinking that we were paying extra for everything. And because he turned the data off, he wasn't getting any messages and he couldn't send out any messages. So he was like cut off and really lost. But he said, Mom, because I knew which ride they were headed to, I just went and waited at the end of the ride. But there were a couple other kids that were wandering around and didn't know which ride they were going to. So it's a good thing that I was lost and I went there, and everything was possible for them to be found. And they didn't get lost even more because he was standing there and he knew where they were planning on going. He paid attention to that little detail. So finding the adventure and the excitement and also finding the blessing. After this break, we're going to invite our guest, Kris, on. I'm really excited to have her join us and talk about moving through fear. And I'm sure she's got a lot more tips to share with us. I'm excited for that. You're listening to TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, at Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. Stay close. All right. So you're going to have to scoot your chair closer. Or we're going to have to like be buddies. So how's this work?
Is that
Are you in? Can you? Yeah. How far can you lean?
Quite over here. We can do half a face shot.
Yeah. And then when you're talking, you want to get closer
to
the microphone so I can pick up that way too.
How hard is the break?
Let's see if we can invite people. No viewers to invite. No, I don't know that button. And it's so jiggly. Hi, whoever's watching. It's good to see ya. We're just trying to figure this out a little bit.
Who's watching?
It just says there's one eyeball on there. So here, scoot closer. See if we can move the chairs a little bit.
Is that good?
That's good. We're kind of far away.
There.
We're learning. Everything is just a practice. That's one of my favorite tips too.
I know you were pretty relaxed for all that trauma that we experienced.
Yeah, for those of you on Facebook Live, when you're watching this later, closer. There, now your face is in. We didn't have our computer and things working until about 10 seconds before the call started. So
Exactly 10 seconds.
It was pretty exciting. It was exciting. That was not fear. That was excitement.
That's the kind of excitement that makes me go crazy. When you want to give up and start over the next day.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring up what you sent me. Where did it go? Oh, it's gone. Okay. We're coming back. Welcome back to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and you're listening on the BBM Global Network, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and on Facebook Live. You can find us at lydiataggart.com, and also at YouTube. We're going to be loading a bunch of stuff onto YouTube at Lydia Taggart. That's LYDIATAGGART. We're visiting today with Kris.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So excited. We're going to have to super be close so your face can be on Facebook Live. How beautiful. Okay. So Kris here is a local business owner with a lot of really awesome awards. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kris? So much to share.
So I'm Kris. I co-own a local emergency flood service and carpet cleaning company here in Utah. It's in South Jordan, Utah. My husband and I started the company 13 years ago, and we have just been recognized with our 12th award. I haven't even announced this 12th one. We receive it on May 3rd through the SBA, but I'm really excited. And the reason awards are so important for a company to flourish is that you build credibility in your community. People know, like, and trust you more if you're getting the shout outs from the media, and we send out press releases for each. And that third party, what's it called?
Validation?
Third party endorsement, validation, whatever, is really important to help build a company, especially where we bootstrapped. We started out a small local company, and we're out there with some large companies, some large franchises. So it's really important.
It's awesome. And awards are another great way to break through fear. I think they can take us that extra step of, yeah, I think I'm doing good. But when you're recognized and validated in that way, oh my goodness, have you seen the fear of your business success diminish as you get more awards?
It's funny you brought that up, because my first 7 awards, so by 2016, so I've been helping my husband run the company for 9 years. We've won 12 awards in 8 years. And the first 7 I couldn't accept. I had no self-worth. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't have the self-confidence, self-esteem. I just thought, who am I to get these? Finally, on the 7th one with the Enterprise magazine, I was the Woman Business Owner of the Year. And that was July, I remember the date, July 2016. Bryce Media, Neil Bryce came out and did it was like a 45-minute interview with me. And they played the video at the ceremony, and I got a standing ovation, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. There was about 200 people, because on the video, when he asked how I felt about receiving the award, I actually admitted that I didn't ever feel worthy to receive the first 7 that Frank and I received, and our company Anchor received. And finally on this one, I was able to accept it with grace. And it was the most amazing feeling to know that we were worth what we've worked so hard to achieve to get. So it was an amazing experience.
Oh, so worth is a big deal. And I think it relates to
and
fear
to believe in
lot.
yourself.
Believing in yourself.
Yeah.
That's a great way to break through fear. Those 7 that you weren't able to fully accept and receive with grace, did you feel a difference with each award? So I'm thinking, if we want our kids in particular, if we want our kids to break through fear, and we award them and recognize them for their advancements and their progress, even if they don't see it. A lot of depression, people who suffer with depression, if we recognize their qualities that are good, other than just, hey, you got depression or whatever the situation is, if we consistently do that over and over, if we recognize they're good, do you think that would pull them through? Did that help you?
Yeah, well, and what it did was it built my self-confidence. So I always, when I started helping Frank with the company, I had pretty much 0, maybe 3% self-confidence and self-esteem. Every award, even though I didn't feel worthy, it still gave me that notch in the belt where I could look back and be proud of. There were outsiders recognizing us. This wasn't Frank and I. This was third parties that saw what we were doing in the community. And so it advances you a little bit each step with self-confidence. And with kids and our children, it would make a huge, in my mentor, I've now started a new company and I mentor women. And one of the exercises we do is to make a list of all of the things that you've achieved. From 5 years old, you learned how to ride a bike, you got your license. These are little milestones that some people don't get or can't do. It sounds cheesy, but
I did that.
And you sit and it really makes a difference.
I made the best mud pie. I made the very best mud pie, and my mom got mad at me for making the mud pie. My mom's
and it doesn't matter what it is,
but I did it. I was the best mud pie maker. There we go. I was the best one ever. So,
and it just builds those levels of self-confidence to where you have to be proud. And another thing that made a difference for me was I kept hearing my aunt, that's like a second mom to me. She kept saying, she was my little cheerleader along with everybody in my community out here in Salt Lake. They've watched me grow from, I'm still scared. I was scared to death doing this, but I just have to say yes. But another thing you can do is, I kept it at a girl file. So every time someone would give me a positive comment or say I was inspirational or whatever, I have tons of stuff. I print those suckers out and I stuck them in that file. And when I was feeling down or I didn't have self-worth that day, I pull those out. And if someone is believing in you, like I believed in myself, but I didn't know the how I was going to get to this point. But if someone is believing in you, you start believing it yourself. Because why would they? They're not going to lie.
Yeah.
So.
Well, sometimes they think they might.
Yeah.
But why would they?
But when 20 people are saying the same thing,
yes,
there's no way.
You can continue to collect all of those atta girls, as you say. We call it success journaling in my programs, and just collect every testimony that you can get. Like my oldest son, he's getting ready to apply for college. He's going to be a senior next year, and he's got all these different places, and I was like, okay, go to every single one of your teachers that you like, that you think might like you, and get them a letter of recommendation. Even if you don't need it for the school application, you need it for you. And collect, Scoutmaster, everybody that you can think of. Go to the neighbor, grandma and grandpa. And I know when we were first getting our kids, my mom wrote a letter to my son and to me and to my husband, our first baby, and just, I'm proud of you and you're awesome kind of stuff, and I think that's really great thing we can do. All right, we got to take a break. So we're going to read through our Facebook Live comments on the commercial and respond to those during the commercial. If you want to jump on, it's under Layers of Communication. You're listening on TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and the BBM Global Network. This is Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and we're visiting today with Kris
Rudarmel.
Rudarmel.
It's hard to say.
And we're talking about moving through fear. Stay close. My mom says, I'm here. I love mud pies. If I got mad about mud pie, it was because it was better than mine. I don't remember. I just remember being in trouble for playing in the mud. I don't remember.
Did you
else.
eat it or just
No,
plain it?
I didn't.
My daughter ate mud. She was low on iron, so she was a dirt eater.
My brother ate the dirt.
And that we found
took
out that's
pictures of him because it was so cute. So I was like, why did I get in trouble for playing in the mud? We're probably late to go somewhere or something. That's probably what really happened. It was not really about the mud. It's about being on time. And Peggy's here. Hi, Peggy. And Peggy is in Wyoming today. So, and our camera is jiggly, and I hope it's just fun anyway. We're just going to have fun. It's just great. All right, so Kris, 7 that you didn't accept. 7 of them. Wow.
I mean, I walked the 30 Women to Watch for Utah Business Magazine. I walked the red carpet. I still remembered
Gets you on
how
camera.
much I was sweating. My hair was flat. I had chest pains. In fact, that day or the day before I told my husband, and my son was on a mission at the time, and I told my daughter and my husband, I'm not going. I'm not going. I can't. I threw up for 3 days. I said, I'm going to have the flu. I'm going to be sick. I can't go get that. I'd already went and filmed the video. That was another video thing. They interviewed a good friend of mine. She said all these amazing things about me, and I tried to be sick. I mean, I tried to fake sick so I didn't have to go. My daughter's like, Mom, you are going. So I went.
Thank goodness for kids, right?
Walked the red carpet, was worried I was going to trip, and now I don't care if I trip. At least I'll just get up there and get it. But just those silly fears we have.
Yeah. The tripping is more fun. Okay, we're coming back from commercial here in just 1 second. Welcome back to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. We're visiting today with Kris Rudarmel.
Rhymes with Darmel.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
That makes it easier.
You're listening on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and BBM Global Network. We're also live on Facebook. And today we're talking about moving through fear. During the break, Kris was telling us about how she has moved from throwing up for 3 days in anticipation of getting an award she didn't feel worthy of to being okay with if she trips on the red carpet. So what other steps brought you from there to here? How did you get here?
Just a lot of tenacity, determination, commitment. I kept my eye on the prize, on the goal. I had some huge goals and dreams I wanted to achieve. I was raised in a poor household growing up, a mom with 4 kids, and we had help, with things, and I just didn't want my kids I love my mom, and she may be watching, but she knows that we struggled, and I didn't want my kids to have to do that, or my grandkids. My kids have made it to where they didn't have to. They're in their 20s, and they're very successful, but now grandkids. So my legacy was huge, what I wanted to leave for my kids and my grandkids, and it kept the dream alive for me and the belief in myself. So all those years I was low on self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, but I did have the belief in myself that I would find a way to do it. And so 12 years ago, I started personal development. I heard that quote from an ISNN, and the day came, I don't have it memorized still, and the day came to remain in the bud was more painful to escape, or something like that. And boy, that was an eye-opener. I thought, I am done struggling with my self-worth. I'm freaking going for the gold.
Awesome. Very awesome.
And fear still does take over sometimes, but I promised God in 2016, March 3rd, 2016, I still have the date embedded in my head, that whatever he put in my pathway to do, I would do. And I haven't turned down one interview. Now, don't think I'm not throwing up before it. because I get really, really nervous to where it shuts my body down. I have diabetes and my blood sugars go up to 500, and fear is insane for me, but I have to do it to achieve my dreams.
So that long-term perspective is really key. Yeah. And keeping your eye on the other people around you that you're affecting in your family and your grandchildren, and how you can have a positive impact on their lives by you moving through the fear and doing it anyway.
Oh, my son's 27 and my daughter's 20. She just turned 24. Well, and my husband, I've been married almost 35 years, and he keeps going, wow, you're not the same person you used to be. I'm like, nope, and I'm proud of it. Yeah. But the kids notice, they, when they give me a holiday card, they write in there how proud they are of me, that I'm not playing small anymore. I play big and go for the big, scary stuff, but it moves me forward, so.
Playing big dreams, big goals, big anxiety, big fear, and just playing big. And one thing that you said that I really love, people say that you're not the same person that I married, and usually they mean that in a negative way. And this is so positive for you, that you're not the same person that you were before. I had 35 years ago. I sure hope we're not the same people after 35 years.
My husband is.
Is he the same?
He's the
really?
same person. That's why I think he has, not that he has a hard time with it, but
I'm sure he's changed some.
Not really.
I don't know. I'm thinking about my husband. My kids. He's very much similar to what he was before too. Maybe it's
I've worked with him for 25.
You've worked with
I've worked with my husband side by side for 25 years. God help us all. I worked in a meat plant with him the first 14 years, and then we've owned businesses together. And
awesome.
I don't work by his side the last 2 years. We've got a full-time office manager, we have an assistant, and life is great.
And a lot of people would be afraid to spend that much time with their spouse.
Oh, it's not easy. It's very hard.
So what's one thing that you do to get you through that? Because that can immobilize a lot of people with their dreams. Because I know me and my husband has been unemployed and at home, not unemployed. We're calling it between jobs. Between jobs. Is that word game, right? It's the mindset. Yeah. He's been between jobs since September 1st. So it's been about 7 months now. And we spend a lot of time together. And I am really surprised at how much time we don't spend together. I'm like thinking that we would have all the time together, but really we still have a lot of time apart too. Mm-hmm. And where was I going with that? That was something else. That was a different story. The fear of being together for that much time. Even if you're going to be at work with a coworker and you have a project that you're working on and you're doing overtime, I think there's this fear of having to be with someone for a lot of time. Mm-hmm.
Because men and women are so different too. Uh-huh. I'm more a perfectionist and detail oriented. He's not. The first 4 years we were in working together for Anchor, my pillow talk at night was the ideas for business, to get it growing, get it going. I had huge dreams. Nothing was going to stop me. And finally, after about 3 years, he's like, dude, you need to stop. You're done at 6. Like, no more pillow. And our kids are like, do we have to talk about business over dinner? And so finally I had to calm it down.
Calm down.
But patience was one. To be patient. He didn't think the same way I did. Let me give you a quick example. When we first... when we first started doing the carpet cleaning, I'd gone to the supplier with him. And I said, what are those big orange things over there? And he goes, oh, they're nothing. And I'm like, no, really, what are they? He goes, those are corner guards. I'm like, why are we not using these? Women would love that, because women are our target market. They're usually the ones that, the carpet cleaning. And he said, we're not going to use those. I go, they would love that. That'll be one of our customer service things. So he bought them.
I'll interrupt you for just a second, because we're going to go to a break, and this is a good place to, what are they? What are they? It's going to keep us on our toes. We got to stay close when we're coming back from this break, find out what are they. You're listening to Layers of Communication on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. We're visiting today with Kris Rudarmel.
You can say Rudarmel.
Stay close. Okay, everybody's going to remember your name.
Everybody always pronounces that Rudarmel.
Yeah,
That'd be easier.
Abraham, my engineer, he's like, that's hilarious. I was just telling her what you said because she can't hear you because she doesn't have headphones on. Yeah. So Peggy said, yeah, he's a funny guy. You're missing out. He's almost as funny as we are. So Peggy says, you're beautiful. Thanks for presenting with Lydia Live.
Oh, thank you. I struggled with feeling like I was an ugly duckling up until 2016 when I gained my self-worth, so I appreciate that. I still don't feel beautiful, but I love myself. I did a lot of self-love and self-worth stuff, and it's really helped, so I appreciate that. And I've had more people tell me I'm beautiful in the last 6 months. I'm like, damn it, there might be a glow about, or dang it, sorry, I forgot what line. So, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, Peggy is one of my angels. She lives actually just up the street, but she's living in Wyoming most of the time now, helping her parents. And she's such a beautiful soul. It's just really great. She's helped me a lot too, just dropping comments like that all the time.
And everybody needs those.
Yeah. Peggy, can you see us both? Are you? I don't know what you guys can see on Facebook Live. If you can see that.
Well, I had to learn how to accept comments. I raised my daughter for 22 years, and I could not accept a compliment. I think I said comment. I meant compliment.
Right.
And still, I still struggle. Even though I'm out teaching workshops, teaching women, I still struggle with that.
And I notice you do this a lot. And
is that bad?
That's one of, I would bring it in and say thank you. I do that. So you're kind of naturally doing that. Okay. We're coming back. Welcome back to Layers of Communication on TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. Today, we're visiting with Kris Rudarmel. I said it right. Woohoo! I said it right that time. Rudarmel. Kris is here talking about moving through fear with us and how it's really based on gaining self-worth. When we know who we are at the core and we can really, truly trust and know inside deep who we are, that we have value, then we really don't have anything to fear.
That's right.
And how can we build that in ourselves and others? Oh, I want to tell you also, you can find me at lydiataggart.com. We're also on Facebook at Layers of Communication. We're doing live today, so if you want to hop on there and drop a few comments, we appreciate all the people joining us. And we're going to be loading these to it's on Facebook Live. We're going to be loading them to YouTube, and that will be under Lydia Taggart. That's LYDIATAGGART. And so, gaining that self-worth. We talked earlier about collecting testimonials and references, kind of like you're going out for a job search, or my son applying for his college. You get other people to say that you're awesome. And how do we accept those when it's so foreign to us? We don't feel like they're real, but other people are seeing it. What do you think, Kris? How have you been able to incorporate that into who you really are?
Yeah, I feel like it took me way longer than the average person. Because like I said, I did personal growth stuff for 12 years, and it was up until 2016 that it finally hit me square in the forehead. And that was with God's help, because I kept praying, asking why I'm stuck, and he finally gave me my answer, and I'm like, oh, hell no. And then I said, oh, I forgot I promised. But I think it's just after, hopefully someone only has to hear other people tell them a few times before they can pick up on that and realize that they are worth whatever you're going after, whatever dream you're trying to accomplish. But
yeah, I think there's a lot of voices. We have these voices in our head that we think might be our own, but really, who's putting that voice in our head? Because why would we say stuff like that to ourselves?
And I call it the negative gremlin voice. Or I teach monthly workshops, and this month is derailing your inner critic. So my inner critic, or I call it the mean girl voice, I have several fun names. It's insane how it can stop you.
Yeah, that mean girl, she's mean. Really mean.
It's really important to learn how to, and I have several exercises that can propel you forward and not, you can still hear them, but you're not going to listen to them and let them stop you.
Right.
It's a big difference.
Sometimes those voices are just critiquing and say, well, maybe I could do that better. Yeah. Maybe there is a better way and I need to work on that. But if we let it take over our belief system that we're not worth it because we've made a mistake. And I think that's one of the major things that stop us. If we think, oh, I've made so many mistakes, how could I ever be worth anything else? And we don't forgive ourselves.
And see those first 7 awards.
Your story too?
Yes, and the first 7 awards, when I didn't feel worthy, my mean girl voice or negative gremlin kept saying, who are you to get that? Why are you getting that? Why do you deserve that and not so-and-so? You know, the comparison game that robs us, that's something that we need to work on, to not compare ourselves. And with social media, like with our teens, I've been speaking to some teen groups. That's why not to go off track, but that's why our suicide is so high, because of all of the social media, the comparing. You know, I even find myself comparing, and I'm aware of it.
Yeah, and it's not really off track, because I think the comparing is really key to fear. If we didn't compare ourselves to others, we wouldn't be afraid of going out and speaking in public. If we weren't comparing ourselves to whatever kind of expectation somebody else is thinking, we would feel like we belong. We would feel confident, and we wouldn't have fear if we weren't comparing.
One thing that I do because I still have the negative thoughts, I work a lot on positivity and I am power statements. But one thing that I do is when I do hear that negative voice come in and try to stop me from coming here today or whatever the latest things have been, I swear I do something scary at least once a day. But I just think it. I say thank you, and I just move forward. And that's really helped me.
That's good. That's good. Acknowledging it is really important too. I believe a lot of times, for me especially, back when I first was told, I was on bed rest and I was having my quadruplets growing inside me, and I was just laying there, and I was like, I'm just laying here. How could I be worth much of anything else? All I do is lay here. That's all. And I had a friend come over, and she said, Lydia, why aren't you crying? Why aren't you upset? And I was like, well, I'm accepting this. God has this plan for me, and this is the way it's going to be. And she said, yeah, but you should have some emotions about this. You're having quadruplets. You should be like stressed of some sort. And I was like, yeah, but I trust and I have faith. And she's like, no, you're stressed out, and you really are. I was like, well, yeah, yeah. And she said, feelings are meant to be felt. And I never thought of that before she told me. I guess that's why they're called feelings, right? But to fear going into that, acknowledging that I was having those emotions. And they could be kind of scary emotions, negative, or, processing the situation. You have to cry. I was telling one of my friends the other day, he said he had an experience in his family, and he just put on Facebook this little sneaky line. He said, sometimes it's okay to cry. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes it's required to cry. Yes. We must have these feelings, and we can't move through them and progress if we're stifling them and just trying to ignore them. And that holds us back and builds a bigger, thicker wall to get through the longer we try to ignore them. And so even just acknowledging them and saying, okay, thanks for your opinion, and let that mean girl voice be there.
The first cold call I went out on 8 or 9 years ago, we market to insurance agents for floods, and I looked them up. We used the phone book back then. Looked them up. I didn't have a smartphone. I don't even know if they were around. And I walk in, and I was scared crapless. And I don't remember much of it, but I remember just how scared I was, sweating. I had heart palpitations, and I walk in, and I was proud of my first little newsletter I made, and I asked him if he would start doing business with us, and he's like, oh, heck no. He said, I will not use someone that's not a preferred vendor. I think he was with Allstate Insurance. So I sat there for just a few minutes and tried to convince him why he should try our awesome company, because anybody can go out and start a flood company, but we started ours with commercial.
Go ahead.
Oh, and so we started ours. I lost my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
you're good.
We'll collect our train of thought and come back after the break. And we also need to go back to what are those orange things we skipped over.
Okay,
now. Sorry, I was excited and skipped ahead. So we're going to take a break. This is iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and the BBM Global Network. We're listening to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and we're visiting with Kris Rudarmel. Stay close.
How long do we have?
So what?
How much longer do we have?
Oh,
I can't see.
we're almost at 10:41 already. Wow. Okay. So you got to talk about whatever train of thought that you're
finding. Can I just tell now with the orange things? Or do you want it on there?
We're on it on the radio too. Okay. But we can talk more on the live a minute after. Okay, Lacey, you are gorgeous. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And Peggy says, yes, I see you. All right.
I'm sweating. I'm really nervous. Can you guys see the sweat on my forehead? Like, I'm really nervous. Oh my gosh.
Great. This is great stuff. I love our conversation. So, do you guys have any questions about moving through fear or anything else you want to ask Kris while we've got her here today? We've got a little less than 20 minutes, I think. Is that right? We've only got one more segment. Is that right, Abraham? We only have one segment more? We're almost done already. It goes so fast. Such a good talker. Okay, so the orange things and then your train of thought that I messed you up on that.
I'll talk fast. It'll be quick.
Oh, you don't have to talk fast. And then where they can find you and all that.
Okay.
Too. So. And then after, so we'll have one more segment that's about 8 minutes. And then, then the last 3 or 4 minutes, then I will take on that.
Okay.
Welcome back to iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. We are live on Facebook at Layers of Communication. And today we're visiting with Kris Rudarmel about moving through fear, gaining that self-worth so that we can really eliminate our fears. Now, it's a process, right? It's a process. Yes. You still have fear.
It still
comes because that's part of being human, I think. Everybody has fear. Everybody can feel joy. There's like 5 or 6 core emotions that everyone can feel as a human. And all the other little parts can fall under one of the other categories, but fear is huge. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to feel our feelings and move through them. So it's always going to be there, something we always have to deal with as having fear. So did you think of your train of thought that I interrupted you before?
Okay, so I'd gone in to see this insurance agent, and he said no way, he wasn't going to use us. And so I said, okay, you know what, I'm coming back in 1 month. I'm going to come back and see you, and hopefully you'll change your mind. So I chickened out, but I'm true to my word and work on integrity and ethics and such. We built our company on that. So 3 months later, I go back and I walk in the door and Mark comes out and he remembered me. And he said, oh, you're back. And I said, I'm so sorry I didn't come back on the first month. I was so scared and frightened. I just couldn't do it. But I am back on my 3rd month. And here's the stuff I told you I was going to bring. And he goes, you know what? When you left that day, I had decided I was going to use you. You had tenacity. And in my mind, I'm like, what the heck is tenacity? So I hurried and drove home, left in my marketing material, hurried and drove home, went to the dictionary and looked up tenacity. And that has been my word for 9 years. I've not given up. And now he's gone to be into a realtor field, and he uses us for carpet cleaning and stuff. He found me on LinkedIn, and he's still a customer, but in a different sense. So that was a cool thing on fear and tenacity and fighting your way.
Awesome. Yeah. So tenacity, I just want to throw this out. When we find a word that is amazing, we can step into it and put it on us and make that a layer of who we are too. It adds to our identity.
The other day, driving, I just thought, oh my gosh, I could be called the tenacity queen. My husband's like, okay, do not be putting that on your business.
But you can do it in your daily affirmations and things. I'm the tenacity queen. Put it in that swirly pot and step into it.
And then just quickly back to the orange cones.
Orange things, yeah.
So, or not orange cones, the orange things. They're called corner guards, and I had to just keep bugging him. He finally went and bought them, used them. Greatest thing he ever did. He won't admit that, but women love them. It protects the corners of the walls. And he was in fear with that because I started pointing out more female-oriented business stuff, like flowers on the counter, dog bones in a baggie to leave because people left their pets. And it just continued from there. We got about 25 things on our list that he's grateful he's not out in the field anymore passing those out because he got embarrassed. But
embarrassed to leave flowers and dog bones.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dog bones, that's really thoughtful. That's a good idea. And when you know who you are at the core and your self-worth, then you are better able to think of all these wonderful ideas. That's one reason to keep moving through the fear. I mean, we forget that there are reasons to get through our emotions. It's not just because we don't like it, the emotion, because sometimes they're good emotions and we still need to move through them and experience all the spectrum of life. And we can get more inspiration and better ideas and better relationships when we are moving, when we're doing stuff.
That's so true.
All right, so tell us, Kris, where our audience can find you. Tell us more what you got going on.
So you can find our company Anchor Restoration at anchorrestoration.com. So we handle flood damage when your toilet overflows or the sink pipe breaks or anything that floods your home. We do that. We also do just regular carpet cleaning. And then my new company I launched with God's help in 2016 is RAW, R-A-W, Bliss, B-L-I-S-S, wonder.com. I have a free gift on there. My first product is on there. I just launched 2 days ago. And I do monthly workshops on awakening your inner warrior. And I'm starting a 21-day challenge in June that's called Unstoppable You. I'm so excited. I'm really nervous, but I'm going to do it.
We'll all become unstoppable together. The 21-day challenge starting in June.
June 1st.
And that's at rawbliss.com.
Yeah. rawblisswonder.com.
rawblisswonder.com. Okay. rawblisswonder.com.
Or you can find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. So.
But you got to figure out how to spell your name.
Yeah, Kris is K-R-I-S.
Well, we'll have you linked in our stuff too. So that's at lydiataggart.com.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been really excited. This has been great. Is there anything that you want to cover? Make sure people know any last words before your time is up.
Just be true to yourself. Believe in your dreams. Don't let anybody stop you. Even your husband that you've been married to forever. I always tease him about that. He's just nervous because I started a new venture and we're used to working together. So, but don't let anybody stop you. Just move forward and dream big.
And I think that your husband's a lot like mine, that he supports you, he loves you, and he loves you so much that he's worried about you.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to see you have the fear. And I think that's one of the key things too, that we worry about other people having these emotions.
Yeah.
And we worry that we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to, really.
He's been an amazing supporter, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Shout out to all the great men out there. We love you guys. Yeah. So if we are living in fear, like what was that like before? Just give me a before and after real quick. Before it was it debilitating? And
very. I used to throw up before networking events. Frank went with me the first 2 years to every single networking event because I was too afraid to go by myself.
And now you're here all alone.
Yeah, I don't turn down speaking. I was asked by Westminster when I won 30 Women to Watch to come and speak to 125 entrepreneurs up there, and I turned it down. I couldn't do it. It shot my blood sugars up. I was sick in bed for 3 days. I had to call her back and tell her I couldn't do it. Now I'm sick in bed for maybe just 4 or 5 hours. It's not 3 days, and it's improved a little bit. But I think
that's
the
a lot.
self-confidence
Days to
too.
hours is a big improvement.
Yeah, it was 3 days literally in bed.
Yeah, and is that one thing, the one thing that you did that
gaining
made the
my
biggest
self-worth
difference? Is it the success journal, the collecting
the Ada Girls, that and listing out your achievements? Because when you start seeing all that you've achieved, whether they're small, really just small ones, it really builds your self-confidence.
Yes.
So I think that's important.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Kris.
Thanks for inviting me.
Loved it. Okay, we're going to take our last break, and I'll be back to give you some more information after the break. You're listening on TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. We're also live on Facebook at Layers of Communication, and you can find us at lydiataggart.com. Stay close.
I wrote my first article was in our industry magazine.
Yeah?
It's 2 pages. It's Roadmap to Entrepreneurial Success.
Oh, let's show our people on Facebook. We got
I
some
brought it
awesome
from my
stuff
notes,
here.
but
We didn't use your notes, though, because we're just so good at talking, see?
So in November 2017, so several months ago, I was honored to receive the Stevie Bronze Award. It's the most prestigious award you can get in the world for women business owners. And so the editor of our industry publication, R&R, Restoration and Remediation, found me on LinkedIn because of the Stevie Award and asked me, so this is another thing is where awards come. So she asked me to write an article, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I'm not a writer. That's the one thing I'm still learning how to do. And she goes, I'll help you. Just write an article. So I chose Roadmap to Entrepreneurial Success and sent in I went and had a quick photo shoot so I could have a professional picture because I didn't used to put my picture anywhere. And I sent in my rough draft, and she goes, that's perfect. You don't have to change anything. And I'm like, that was a big confidence booster because but I just wrote from my heart. There's a lot of integrity and ethic issues in our industry with flood damage. Like
I'll bet.
That's all I'm saying. You can get the picture. And we've built our company on integrity and ethics. My husband, that's very strong in my husband's personal life, and we carry that over into the business. And so my first example in here was a plumbing company located in Salt Lake that has a huge customer base here. And there's a lot of dishonesty, and they offered to make us $1 million company in 1 year. And when I found out how, that's one of my stories in this magazine because it was so dishonest that other flood companies are doing. And all she asked was, give me another integrity example, okay. And that's what's in there.
Awesome. Welcome back to Layers of Communication on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. Today we're talking about moving through fear, and one of the biggest things that we can do to get through fear is to build our self-confidence and to really know that we have that worth within us. So we've been visiting with Kris today, and she was sharing that her pivotal, like the one thing that made the biggest difference, probably 2 things: collecting the testimonials, the Atta girls, and okay, the other one left me.
Oh, making the list.
Making the list of your accomplishments. Thank you. Listing your accomplishments, collecting your Atta girls from yourself or for anybody else. And so my list, because I think this is a common practice that we need to collect our positive things that we've done, even just what we've done as a kid growing up playing in the mud. I was a successful mud pie builder when I was little, and I'm not really good at playing the piano, but I did that. I know how to read music. I know how to read a book. I know my ABCs. I can count to 10. I'm going to add all these things up, all of everything that you can think of that is good and positive, and just fill up all your personal bubble space with all your yumminess, and you are so awesome. I bet you know how to say your name. I bet you're really good at that. I bet you even might know your phone number. Maybe. That's awesome. People can find you and know how to contact you. You can call people. You can text message people. You can wave at someone and smile. All these things are part of who you are, and you are amazing. And if you doubt your worth, stop. Just stop. Take that little voice, set it aside, say thank you for sharing. I'll work on that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. And then just really dive into who you really are. Who do you want to be? Don't forget and try to remember who you used to be. Time changes. Circumstances changes. All those experiences have been added on to who you are, and you're better for it. Break through those layers and say, yes, this is a part of who I am, and now I am better because of it. And you don't have to worry about not being good enough. Just put that over there. Leave that mean girl voice away, mean boy voice away. Mean boy is kind of funny to say. Mean girl sounds better. I guess girls are meaner. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because that's the voice in my head, is a girl voice. Anyway, if you collect all the awesome stuff, all of it, even if it's a negative thing, like my son was saying, he got lost, but he was able to turn it around because of the training that I've had with him. that he could turn it around and say, yeah, I was lost. But because I was standing there where I thought the people were going to be, I was able to help all these other kids be found because they were wandering around trying to find the group again also. And so he was an answer to someone else's silent prayer. Maybe they weren't really praying, but I bet they had it in the back of their mind somewhere that, hey, I don't know where I'm going. This is a huge place, tons and tons of people. And we can do that. You can take every situation, whether it's positive or negative, and turn it into a positive. Learn from it and grow from it, and just appreciate who you are and who you're becoming, and choose. That's one other thing. We can choose this. It's not a set in stone kind of thing. We're flexible. The stuff around us moves. The air around us is not a rock. And you can put more yummy stuff inside of your space to protect you and build you up, strengthen that bubble around you. All right, we're going to sign off today. This is Lydia Taggart, Layers of Communication. Find us at lydiataggart.com. We're also on Facebook at Layers of Communication, and we've got YouTube starting up, and that is going to be at Lydia Taggart on YouTube. Okay, I hope to see you soon. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
So does he tell you when it's done? Does he tell you?
He's like, you got 30 seconds. Thanks, Abraham. Bye-bye. All right.
Oh,
so he says, I'll see you next week. Isn't that fun?
Oh.
Okay. So, any last words?
No.
Okay.
Do you want me to say something?
Thanks for joining us. This was exciting.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
We are going to be posting this recording on our YouTube channel. It's Lydia Taggart. And shaking the tape. We got to find a way to stabilize our camera. Sorry, it's been a little bit shaky today. And Peggy, I think Peggy is the winner. Well, 1, 2, 3 comments from Peggy, and 1, 2, 3 comments from Sandy Paulson. So you guys tied for the winners of making the most comments. You'll be getting a prize.
And
so,
I will, if you guys,
let's put you on the camera.
If you guys give me your address, I will mail you a piece of art. I make copies of my art.
Oh, let's show
and
them
I love to
your
pass
art.
those out as a
let's
thank
show them
you.
your art thing, because that's really awesome. She brought in some art.
All right here. It might be this, but it might be a different one.
Isn't that awesome?
But they all have
really
little
great.
words on it.
This
Tell
one,
them what that one says.
This one says, "Follow your heart; it knows the way." Yes, it does. And then she's got this really cool thing on the back too that you'll get to read when you receive it. Okay, thank you. Talk to you guys later. Make it a great day. You're awesome and you're worth it. Oh, Peggy says yay and I love art, and Sandy says me. So awesome. We'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye-bye.